My name is Felicia Cardenas, 29 years old. 3 weeks ago, my father called me a useless failure and kicked me out of the house. My $58,200 a year psychiatric nurse salary wasn't worthy of sitting at the same table with the Cardenas family. "Go live on the streets with your mentally ill patients," he yelled. I didn't argue. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and left. Tonight, 3 weeks later, I showed up at the Ballantyne Hotel in the middle of a gala with 180 of my family's company clients. My father saw me, his face went white. He dragged me to the lobby, screaming, "I told you not to come! You're embarrassing me!" Guests started turning their heads. They didn't know that Daniel, the man in the plain t-shirt standing quietly beside me, had signed an $85 million contract this morning with the CEO sitting at table 1. And what they were about to discover in the next 4 minutes would destroy every definition my father ever had of success. My family lives at 47 Pembroke Lane, in a gated community where houses start at $1.2 million. The automatic gate cost $18,000. My mother's white Mercedes GLE, leased at $940 a month, sits in the driveway next to my father's black S-Class, leased at $1,100. Inside, everything screams success. Marble countertops, custom Italian furniture, a wine cellar that cost more than I make in 6 months. "Image is everything in wealth management," my father used to say. "If you don't look successful, clients don't trust you." Rafael Cardenas, 58, CEO of Cardenas Wealth Partners. That's what the business cards say. What they don't say, the firm is a boutique operation. Really just 4 financial advisors eating commissions off mutual funds they sell to retirees who don't know better. The house? Mortgaged at 85%? The cars? Both leased. The country club membership my father loves to mention? Paid with a business line of credit that's maxed out at $87,000. But no one was supposed to know that. I found out by accident. Last Thanksgiving, I went home early to help with dinner. My mother's laptop was open on the kitchen counter. An email from Bank of America was on the screen. "Your HELOC payment is 47 days past due. Amount owed, $127,340. I only saw it for 3 seconds before my mother rushed in and slammed the laptop shut. Her eyes were terrified. "Felicia, that's private." I didn't ask questions, but I started noticing things. The way my father's jaw clenched when the credit card bill came. The way my mother started buying store-brand groceries but hiding them in name-brand containers. The Cardenas family wasn't wealthy. We were drowning. My father's office is on the 3rd floor of the Morrison Building, 1,200 square feet, 4 employees, including him. The reception area has leather chairs and fake plants. "We manage $24 million in assets," he told clients. "Boutique. Exclusive." The truth? Assets under management had dropped to $18.7 million over the past 18 months. My sister Bianca, 25, supposedly a junior advisor, was really just doing administrative work. Answering phones, scheduling appointments. 3 clients left last quarter alone. "Dad's losing clients," Bianca whispered to me at a family dinner in March. "He's stressed." I didn't respond. By then, I'd learned that showing concern was a liability in my family. Concern meant you weren't tough enough, weren't ambitious enough, weren't enough. The annual Client Appreciation Gala was my father's Hail Mary. Every May, Cardenas Wealth Partners threw a black tie event to impress current clients and attract new ones. Last year's event cost $78,000. This year, my father budgeted $95,000, money borrowed from the same business line of credit that was already drowning them. The Ballantyne Hotel, crystal chandeliers, a live string quartet, open bar, French fusion menu. "This event is an investment," my mother said when I asked why they were spending so much. "One new client pays for the whole thing. The invitations alone cost $4,800 for 300 embossed cards. The deposit to the Ballantyne was $32,000. And then I saw the email, forwarded from my father to Bianca by accident, CCing me. Subject line: Guest list, final. Body: Keep Felicia away from the gala, she makes us look poor. I stared at those 8 words for a long time, then I closed my laptop and didn't reply. I work at Atrium Health's psychiatric unit. 16 beds. Patients in crisis. Suicide attempts. Psychotic breaks. Severe depression that's landed them in the ER 3 times in 2 months. My shift starts at 7 a.m. and ends at 7 p.m. 12 hours, sometimes longer. I make $58,200 a year. It took 12 years of education to get here. 4 years for my BSN at University of Pennsylvania, plus specialized training in psychiatric care. On Tuesday, a 34-year-old mother of 2 came in after her 3rd suicide attempt. She'd been stable for 6 months, then lost her job, couldn't afford her meds, spiraled. I sat with her for 4 hours. Not because I had to, because she needed someone to sit with her. "You're the only one who's listened to me like I'm a person," she said. When I got home at 8:15 p.m., I saw 3 missed calls from my mother. I didn't call back. Thanksgiving dinner, November 23rd, 6 p.m. 12 people, 2 tables. The main dining room table seated 8. My parents, Bianca, the Hendersons, prospective clients worth $1.8 million, and 2 other VIP guests. The kitchen nook table, 18 feet away, seated 4. Me, Uncle George, and my 2 young cousins. I sat on a plastic folding chair. From the kitchen I could hear my father's voice booming across the house. Bianca just closed a $1.2 million account. Her client inherited the money and trusted Bianca to manage it properly. He talked about Bianca for 8 minutes straight. When dinner was over, Mrs. Henderson asked, "Raphael, don't you have another daughter?" "Oh yes, Felicia." My father's tone flattened. "She's a nurse." No elaboration, no pride, just, "She's a nurse." I set my fork down. I wasn't hungry anymore. No one noticed. In March, I saved a patient's life. 19-year-old male, college freshman, came in for anxiety. During intake, I noticed inconsistencies in his story. The way he avoided eye contact when talking about his dorm room. The way he kept touching his left wrist. I pulled him aside, asked the right questions, found out he'd been stockpiling pills for 2 weeks, planning to end it that Friday. We got him into intensive care, got him stable. 2 years later, he's still alive, attending community college, working part-time. I called my father to tell him. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted him to be proud. The call lasted 45 seconds. "That's nice, Felicia," he said. "Hey, did Uncle George call you about his retirement account?" I was eating lunch in the break room when he said it. 11:20 a.m. I remember because I looked at the clock and thought, 45 seconds. That's how long my father could tolerate hearing about my work. My father used his connections to get me into University of Pennsylvania's nursing program. He donated $15,000, money he borrowed, to improve my chances. He expected me to go into healthcare consulting, or hospital administration, or marry someone wealthy. I chose psychiatric nursing. "I used my Ivy League connections for this," he said when I told him. "You're going to work in a psych ward?" He didn't come to my graduation in 2017. He had a golf tournament. When I asked him about it later, he said, it was an important networking event. I stopped asking him to show up after that. 14 months ago. Amelie's French Bakery, 3:40 p.m. on a Saturday. I was sitting alone, reading case notes. Daniel was at the next table reading a book, Insane, America's Criminal Treatment of Mental Illness by Alyssa Roth. "Good book," I said. He looked up, smiled. "Most people don't care about this stuff." We talked for 2 hours, about gaps in the mental health system, about insurance companies denying coverage for psychiatric care, about patients who cycled through ERs because there was nowhere else for them to go. "You actually get it," he said. At 5:40 p.m., he asked for my number. I hesitated. I'd been conditioned to expect judgment, to expect people to ask what I did, hear psychiatric nurse, and lose interest. Daniel just smiled. I'm just a guy who rides a bike. I gave him my number. Daniel lives in a studio apartment at 2011 South Boulevard, Unit 4C, 640 square feet. Rent, $1,100 a month, utilities included. He rides a Schwinn bike to work, packs his lunch in Tupperware containers, wears t-shirts from his company, plain, no logo anyone recognizes. His jeans are 3 years old. I don't need much, he said once. More stuff just complicates life. When I asked what he did for work, he said, tech startup, and then changed the subject. I didn't push. Everyone in Charlotte has a tech startup. Most of them fail. One night, 8:40 p.m. on a Tuesday, I stopped by Daniel's studio unannounced. He was on a video call. His laptop was old, a Dell from 2019, but the person on the other end was wearing a suit. The background was a pristine office with floor-to-ceiling windows. I heard fragments through his AirPods. Daniel, the board wants to move forward. $85 million is on the table. Regulatory approval should clear by... Acquisition terms are... Daniel saw me in the doorway and closed the laptop. Hey, he said, pulling out his AirPods. Sorry, boring business stuff. $85 million is boring? He laughed. It's not as exciting as it sounds. I didn't ask more questions, but the number stayed in my head. $85 million for a startup. Easter brunch. April 9th. Morrison's Cafeteria. My mother chose Morrison's because it was affordable. The bill for 7 people came to $127. My father split it. Daniel wore an H&M button-down shirt, took an Uber. When my father asked what he did, Daniel said, I run a small health tech company. Oh, my father said. His disappointment was visible. That's nice. 15 minutes later, my father excused himself to talk to someone across the room. He didn't come back. I overheard my mother whispering to Bianca, she's dating a startup guy? He probably makes $60,000. Bianca smirked. After brunch, my father texted me. You can do better than that. I didn't reply. November 23rd. Thanksgiving. 12 people, 2 tables. The main table in the dining room seated my parents, Bianca, the Hendersons, Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, and 2 business prospects. The kitchen nook seated me, Uncle George, and my 2 young cousins, ages 6 and 8. Felicia, you don't mind eating in the kitchen, right? My mother asked. We need room for the Hendersons. I sat on a plastic folding chair. From where I sat, I could see the main table, 18 feet away. I watched my father stand up to give a toast. I'm grateful for family, for success, and for my brilliant daughter Bianca, who's closing deals left and right. He didn't mention me. From the kitchen table, I ate turkey that was cold by the time it reached me. Uncle George tried to make conversation, but I could barely hear him over the laughter from the dining room. At 8:30 p.m., I left without saying goodbye. No one noticed. December 16th. My parents hosted their annual Christmas party. 90 guests, clients, prospects, country club friends. I found out about it from Bianca's Instagram story. Photo of her in a $2,800 dress, standing in our living room next to a 12-foot tree. Caption: Best Christmas party ever. I texted my mother. Was I not invited? 2 days later, she replied, it was a business event. I was working a night shift that same night. 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. 16 patients, 2 suicide watches. 1 patient who kept trying to pull out her IV because the voices told her it was poisoned. At 11 p.m. during my break, I scrolled through Instagram, saw photos of the party. The caterer cost $4,200. There was a champagne fountain. I put my phone away and went back to work. February 14th, my 29th birthday. My father called at 10:15 a.m. Happy birthday, Felicia. How's work? Okay, great. I gotta run. Client call. I checked my phone log later. The call lasted 47 seconds. No card, no gift, no follow-up text. Bianca sent me a Starbucks gift card for $25. My father sent nothing. March 12th. Dinner at my parents' house, 7 p.m. I made roast chicken. For 20 minutes, my father talked about Bianca's latest big win, an $800,000 client. The client was a referral from my father's friend. Bianca didn't find him. She just answered the phone when he called. See? My father said, gesturing with his fork. That's ambition. That's building something. He looked at me. Why can't you be more like your sister? I set down my knife. What am I building? He didn't answer. I asked again. Dad, what am I building? Silence. My mother changed the subject. April 18th. Bianca sent me a photo of her gala invitation. Gold embossed envelope, her name in calligraphy, Bianca Cardenas plus guest. Her text, got the gala invite. Didn't you get one? She knew I hadn't. I texted my mother. Am I invited to the gala? Her reply came 4 hours later. It's for clients and family who contribute to the business. I stared at that message for a long time. Family who contribute to the business. I texted back, I'm not family. No response. April 20th, 9 p.m. Daniel's studio. I cried. I'm not proud of it, but I cried. They don't want me there, I said. I don't fit their image. Daniel listened. Then he asked, do you want to go? They made it clear I'm not invited. That's not what I asked. I looked up. What? Do you want to go? I didn't know how to answer. Daniel pulled out his laptop, went to the gala's event page, clicked, purchase tickets, 2 tickets, $300 each. Daniel, don't. You deserve to be in that room, he said. And if they can't see that, I'll make sure everyone else does. He bought the tickets. I was terrified. Trust me, he said. May 3rd, 7:30 p.m. 72 hours before the event. We sat on the balcony of Daniel's studio. The sun was setting. Charlotte's skyline glowed pink. You've spent your whole life making space for them, Daniel said. It's time they make space for you. What if they kick me out? Then we leave together. He looked at me. But not before they see you. I thought about it. About walking into that ballroom. About my father's face when he saw me. They see you as less because you help people instead of managing their money, Daniel said. That's their failure, not yours. I bought a dress the next day. Navy blue, size 6, on sale at Loft for $89. Bianca posted an Instagram story of her dress fitting, Vera Wang, $2,800. My total cost for this gala, $162. Dress, $89. Shoes, $45. Hair, $28. Great clips. Bianca's total, over $3,140. Dress, $2,800. Shoes, $680. Hair, $340. Upscale salon. Nails, $120. I looked at myself in the mirror the night before. My dress was simple. My hair was fine. My shoes were from DSW. I wondered if I was making a mistake. A text from my coworker. You're really going? Be careful. I didn't respond. May 5th. 8:20 a.m. 36 hours before the event. An email from my mother. Subject. About Saturday. Felicia, I heard you purchased tickets to the gala. I'm asking you to reconsider. This is an important night for your father. Your presence might create unnecessary tension. Let's have lunch next week instead. 4 sentences. No love, Mom. No signature. Just a request for me to disappear. I stared at the email for 10 minutes. Then I closed it without replying. The decision was already made. May 6th, 6:45 p.m. Daniel and I took an Uber, $24. The driver dropped us off at the Ballantyne's main entrance. Red carpet, fake, but convincing. A photographer stationed near the door. Valet parking for guests who drove. The hotel was 5-star. Crystal chandeliers in the lobby, marble floors, everything polished. "Good evening," the valet said. "Checking in for the Cardenas event?" "Yes," Daniel said. We walked inside. The ballroom could hold 220 people. Tonight, it held 180. 20 round tables, 9 people per table, white tablecloths, gold-rimmed china, a live string quartet playing Vivaldi near the stage. Ice sculptures, $4,000 worth, shaped like swans flanked the entrance. The bar was open. Champagne fountains, a French fusion menu printed on cardstock. "Beautiful event," I heard someone say. "Raphael really knows how to impress." I scanned the room. Table 1, the VIP table, closest to the stage, seated Gregory Ashton, CEO of Premier Health Systems, and Dr. Sarah Chen, the CMO. 7 others I didn't recognize. Table 16, in the far corner near the exit, was empty. No names on the place cards. Daniel and I stood near the entrance. My heart pounded. Then I saw Bianca. She saw me. Her mouth fell open. She turned and ran toward the far side of the room, looking for our father. My father was at table 3, talking to prospective clients. A middle-aged couple. They were laughing. Bianca ran up to him, whispered something. I couldn't hear, but I could read her lips. "She's here, with that guy." My father turned, looked across the ballroom, 40 feet away. Our eyes met. His face went white, then red. He excused himself mid-sentence and started walking toward me. 35 feet, 30 feet. The quartet was playing Vivaldi's Spring, first movement. I remember that detail. 20 feet. I could see his jaw clenched, his hands balled into fists. He didn't stop in the ballroom. He grabbed my arm and pulled me into the lobby. 60 people were milling around. Smokers, late arrivals, hotel guests passing through. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. His voice was low but sharp. "I didn't invite you." "I bought a ticket," I said. "I have every right to be here." His face turned red. "This is a professional event. You're making me look bad." "I'm just attending a gala." "No." His voice rose. "You're embarrassing me." People started looking. My mother rushed out from the ballroom. "Raphael, not here. People are watching." "I don't care," he said. "She needs to leave." I stood still. I didn't move backward, didn't move forward. Daniel stood beside me, silent, calm, his hands in his pockets. My father's eyes flicked to him. "And who the hell is this?" My father's voice grew louder. "This is my event. You don't belong here." The quartet stopped playing, mid-measure bar 34 of Vivaldi's Spring. People in the ballroom started drifting toward the lobby. 80 people, then 100. My mother tried to pull him aside. "Raphael, please." He shook her off. Daniel didn't move. His face was calm, almost serene. I felt 180 pairs of eyes on me. My father stepped closer, close enough that I could see the veins in his neck. Then he said it. 3 sentences, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're embarrassing me in front of my clients. You have no business being here. You don't contribute anything to this family. Go back to your little hospital job and stop pretending you belong in rooms like this." Silence. Complete silence. A woman holding a champagne glass froze. 2 men in suits stopped talking. The quartet didn't resume. I counted. 8 steps from where I stood to the exit door. My father grabbed my arm. His fingers dug into my skin, nails pressing into flesh. He pushed me toward the door. I didn't resist. I didn't fight. I just walked. 8 steps. The bellhop at the door stood frozen, mouth slightly open, unsure whether to intervene. I reached the door, turned around. Daniel hadn't followed me. He was still standing in the lobby, 30 feet away, 15 feet from my father. Our eyes met. He nodded. Just once. Trust me. I walked out. 7:11 p.m. I stood outside. The air was cool. My arm throbbed where my father had grabbed me. 5 small marks. They'd bruise later. Purple, then yellow. 3 days to fade. I heard muffled voices inside. Couldn't make out words. I was shaking. I wanted to leave. Call an Uber. Go home. Forget this ever happened. But I didn't. Daniel said to trust him. So I waited. 7:12 p.m. My father walked back into the ballroom, clapped his hands together, forced a smile. Sorry about that, he said loudly. Family drama, you know how it is. No one laughed. The quartet didn't start playing. 180 people stared. The silence stretched. 8 seconds. In a room that size, 8 seconds feels like an hour. Then Gregory Ashton stood up. He was seated at table 1, the VIP table. Tall, mid-50s, gray suit. He looked past my father, toward the lobby, at Daniel. His eyes widened. Gregory walked toward the lobby, slowly, like he wasn't sure if he was seeing correctly. He stopped 10 feet from Daniel, stared. Then his mouth opened. Raphael. Gregory turned to look at my father. Is that Daniel Whitmore? His voice wasn't loud, but in the silence, everyone heard. My father blinked. Who? That's just my daughter's boyfriend. Gregory looked back at Daniel, then at my father again. Daniel Whitmore, Gregory repeated, from Mindbridge Health. My father's face went blank. Mindbridge? What? Dr. Sarah Chen stood up from table 1. She walked over, heels clicking on marble. She looked at Daniel. Her eyes lit up. Wait, she said. Daniel, from this morning's meeting? Daniel smiled, polite, quiet. Hi, Dr. Chen. Sarah turned to my father. Raphael, that's Daniel Whitmore, the Daniel Whitmore. We had a meeting with him this morning at Premier Health. My father stared at her. A meeting? About the telehealth partnership, Sarah said. $85 million. The room was dead silent. Gregory stepped closer to my father. His expression had shifted, from confusion to something colder. Raphael, he said slowly, did you just throw Daniel Whitmore's fiancé out of your event? My father's mouth opened. No sound came out. Gregory's voice dropped. The CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, that Daniel Whitmore. My father looked at Daniel, at Gregory, at Sarah. Multi-billion? His legs wavered. Someone in the crowd pulled out their phone. Daniel walked into the ballroom, calm, hands in his pockets. Every eye followed him. Gregory gestured toward him. Everyone, this is Daniel Whitmore, CEO and founder of Mindbridge Health. A woman at table 7 gasped softly. Mindbridge, Gregory continued, is the telehealth platform that just went public last month. Murmurs rippled through the room. A man at table 12 pulled out his phone, started typing. 4 people, then 5, then 10. Phones out. Searching. Mindbridge Health IPO. I couldn't see their screens from outside, but I knew what they were finding. IPO date, April 12th, 24 days ago. Opening price, $47 per share. Closing price on day 1, $63. Market cap, $3.8 billion. A woman at table 7 looked up from her phone. Her face was pale. Wait, 3.8 billion? My father stood like a statue. Sweat beaded on his forehead. My mother gripped the back of a chair. Her knuckles were white. Bianca sat down, hard, like her legs had given out. Daniel didn't say anything. He just stood there, in his $40 Target blazer, his plain t-shirt underneath, calm. Someone whispered, "Oh my God, may I say something?" Daniel's voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the noise. Everyone went quiet. He looked around the room, then his eyes landed on my father. I came here tonight because Felicia deserves to be here. Silence. She's a psychiatric nurse, one of the best I know. My father's jaw clenched. Daniel's voice stayed even. She saves lives every single day. That's why I started MindBridge. Gregory nodded slowly. Dr. Sarah Chen smiled. My father looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. Daniel didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Most people don't understand what psychiatric nurses do, he said. They see numbers, salaries, titles. He glanced at my father. They don't see the value. A woman at table 9 wiped her eyes. Felicia works 12-hour shifts, sometimes longer. She de-escalates patients in crisis. She sits with people who've lost all hope, and she gives it back to them. One patient at a time. He paused. That's why MindBridge exists. The room was completely silent. Dr. Sarah Chen stepped forward. I think people should know, she said, looking at my father, that Daniel and I had a meeting this morning, along with Gregory. Gregory nodded. Sarah smiled. We finalized an $85 million partnership. MindBridge will integrate its platform into all 7 of our hospitals across North Carolina. Murmurs. This partnership will serve 400,000 patients, Sarah continued. It will expand mental health access in ways we've never been able to before. She looked at Daniel. His vision is extraordinary. Someone in the back asked, So how much is he worth? Gregory answered. Daniel owns 22% of MindBridge post-IPO. At current valuation, that's approximately $836 million. Someone gasped. His annual income from stock vesting, Gregory continued, is over $15 million. He paused, looked directly at my father. 15.2 million, to be exact. Another pause. A bit more than the 24 million in assets you manage, Raphael. My father's face turned gray. Bianca put her head in her hands. My mother looked like she might faint. Daniel spoke again. I'm lucky to work with people who care about mental health as much as Felicia does. He listed names. Our advisory board includes the former U.S. Surgeon General, the current director of the National Institute of Mental Health, 3 medical school deans. He smiled, small, humble. They didn't join because of money. They joined because the work matters. People were staring at him, not with envy, with respect. My father stood in the middle of the ballroom, surrounded by 180 people who now knew the truth. The man in the cheap t-shirt was worth more than everyone in that room combined, and my father had just thrown his fiancé out like trash. The MC, a hired host for the evening, walked over to Daniel with a microphone. Would you like to say a few words? Daniel looked at the mic, then at the small stage where the quartet had been playing. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, he said into the mic, but I think some things need to be said. He walked to the stage, 3 feet high. A spotlight clicked on. 180 people watched. My father wanted to stop him. I could see it in his face. But Gregory Ashton was standing right there, arms crossed, waiting. My father didn't move. Felicia Cardenas makes $58,200 a year, Daniel said. He let that number sit. She works 12-hour shifts in a psychiatric unit, crisis intervention, de-escalation, medication management. She's seen patients in their worst moments, psychotic breaks, suicide attempts, severe depression. He paused. And she doesn't manage money. She manages hope. A woman at table 9 wiped her eyes again. Last year, a 19-year-old came into her unit. Severe depression, suicide plan. Felicia spent 6 hours with him, talked him through it, got him into intensive care. Daniel looked out at the crowd. That kid is alive today because of her. He's in community college now, working part-time, building a life. Silence. You can't measure that value in dollars, Daniel said. But if you could, it would be worth more than any portfolio in this room. Several people nodded. My father stood frozen. I met Felicia 14 months ago, Daniel said. She told me about the gaps in the mental health system, about patients who cycle through emergency rooms because there's nowhere else for them to go, about insurance companies that deny coverage, about families that can't afford care. He smiled. She showed me what was broken and what was worth fixing. He looked toward the lobby doors, toward where I was standing outside. Mindbridge exists because Felicia showed me that mental health care isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And the people who provide it, nurses like her, deserve to be honored, not dismissed. Applause started, quiet at first, then louder. My father didn't clap. Daniel's expression shifted. He looked directly at my father. Raphael. My father flinched. You said Felicia doesn't contribute. You're wrong. The room went silent again. The way you treated her tonight, the way you've treated her for years, is unacceptable. Daniel's voice was calm, but firm. You owe her an apology, not privately, right here, right now. My father's face turned red. His mouth opened, closed. 12 seconds of silence. He didn't apologize. Daniel waited, then nodded once. I didn't think so. He handed the mic back to the host and stepped off the stage. The applause was louder this time. 100 people. Maybe more. My father stood in the center of the ballroom, humiliated in front of every client he had. Daniel took the mic again. Before I go, he said, I want to announce something. The room quieted. Mindbridge is launching a new initiative tonight. We're calling it the Cardenas Mental Health Initiative. My father's head snapped up, his eyes wide. We're committing $10.5 million to improve mental health access in Charlotte. Gasps. My father's face shifted. For a moment he looked hopeful, like maybe this was about him, like maybe his name on the initiative meant he'd be honored. He was wrong. $8.5 million, Daniel said, will go toward building a psychiatric crisis care center at Atrium Health, the hospital where Felicia works. People leaned forward. The center will have 40 beds. It will operate 24/7, crisis stabilization, immediate psychiatric care, no insurance denials, no wait lists. Dr. Sarah Chen was nodding, smiling. This center will serve 12,000 patients a year, Daniel continued. It will reduce crisis emergency room visits by 40%. It will save lives. He paused. And the clinical director of the Cardenas Mental Health Crisis Center will be Felicia Cardenas. Applause erupted. My father stood motionless. $2 million, Daniel said, will establish an endowment for psychiatric nursing scholarships. More applause. 15 scholarships per year, $25,000 each, covering tuition and living expenses for students from underserved communities. He looked at the crowd. Because we need more people like Felicia, people who care. A man at table 14 stood and clapped, then another, then half the room. My father didn't move, didn't clap, just stood there like a ghost. Daniel looked toward the lobby, toward the glass doors. Felicia, he said into the mic, if you're listening, will you come back in? I heard my name through the glass. I'd been standing outside for 14 minutes, shaking, watching shadows move inside. Now they were calling me back. I took a breath, pushed open the door, walked in. 180 people turned to look at me. But this time, their eyes weren't filled with pity or judgment. They looked respectful. Daniel reached out his hand. I walked to the stage. My hand was trembling. He squeezed it once. This is for you. 7:29 p.m. I stood on the stage, holding a microphone. 180 people stared. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. 5 seconds of silence. I could hear my heartbeat. Then I spoke. I don't have a speech prepared. A few people smiled, sympathetic. I thought about what to say. About the patients, the hours, the fights with insurance companies, the nights I came home so exhausted I couldn't move. 2 years ago, I said, a 19-year-old came into my unit. My voice was shaky, but I kept going. He told me he was there for anxiety, but I could tell something else was wrong. The way he avoided eye contact, the way he kept touching his left wrist. I paused. I pulled him aside, asked the right questions, found out he'd been stockpiling pills for 2 weeks, planning to end it on Friday. Silence. We got him into intensive care, kept him safe. 2 years later, he's still alive, attending community college, working part-time at a bookstore. I looked out at the crowd. That's worth more than any portfolio. That's a life. Several people were crying now. Not just the woman at table 9. Others. I looked at my father. He was standing near table 3, pale, sweating. "Dad," I said. He flinched. "I won't apologize for who I am." My voice was steady now. "I won't apologize for choosing a career that helps people, for making less money than you wanted, for not fitting into your definition of success." I paused. "And I won't attend family events until you can respect what I do." The room was silent. "I deserve better," I said, "and I'm done waiting for you to see it." I set the microphone down, stepped off the stage. Applause. Loud. Over 100 people. I didn't look at my father. I walked straight to Daniel. He put his arm around me, and we walked out together. 11:40 p.m. My phone rang. My father. I didn't answer. 1:15 a.m. Another call. I didn't answer. 2:03 a.m. A third call. I turned my phone face down. At 2:47 a.m., he left a voicemail. "Felicia, pick up. This is important. We need to talk. Call me back." Not "I'm sorry," not "I was wrong." Just "call me back." I deleted the voicemail, then I blocked his number. May 7th, 8:45 a.m. I woke up to an email from my mother. Subject: moving forward. "Felicia, your father is very stressed right now. I know last night was difficult, but I think we can move past this. Perhaps we could have lunch this week? I'd love to discuss the initiative Daniel mentioned. It's a wonderful opportunity. Maybe Daniel would be interested in partnering with the firm on some financial planning for the project. This could be a great opportunity for family collaboration. Let's not let emotions get in the way of business. Love, Mom." 340 words. Careful, strategic, 0 apologies. I read it twice. Then I replied with one sentence. "No thank you." May 8th. 10:20 a.m. A text from Bianca. "Felicia, I'm sorry. I should have stood up for you. I was scared of Dad, but you were right. You've always been the strong one. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long time. 4 sentences. The first time Bianca had ever acknowledged what our father had done. I replied, "I need time." She wrote back immediately, "I understand, I'll be here when you're ready." I didn't respond. May 10th, 7:15 p.m. I finished my shift at the hospital, walked to the parking lot. My father was there, leaning against his Mercedes, the leased one. He'd been waiting for 40 minutes. "Felicia," he said when he saw me. "Please, 5 minutes." I stopped, 20 feet away. "Not here, not now. I just want to talk." "You had 29 years to talk to me," I said. I got in my car and drove away. He didn't follow. Between May 7th and May 21st, 14 clients left Cardenas Wealth Partners. Assets under management dropped from $24 million to $17.3 million. $6.7 million. Gone. Gregory Ashton transferred his $2.3 million portfolio to a competitor. He sent my father an email. Bianca forwarded it to me. "Raphael, I can't work with someone who treats family the way you treated Felicia. I'm moving my accounts elsewhere." My father lost his biggest client. June 1st. My father announced he was closing the South Park branch office. The internal memo called it restructuring for efficiency. Bianca told me the truth. They couldn't afford the $4,200 monthly lease anymore. 2 advisors were let go. The firm was dying. Charlotte's business community is small. Word spreads fast. By mid-June, my father had been quietly uninvited from two major events: the Chamber of Commerce Networking Gala on June 8th and the Rotary Club fundraiser on June 15th. Both sent polite emails. "We regret that we're at capacity." I heard from Uncle George that people were talking. "Did you hear about Rafael Cardenas? Kicked his own daughter out of an event in front of everyone. Turns out her fiancé is a billionaire." The Cardenas name, my father's carefully curated image, was stained. November 3rd, 7:40 p.m. Uncle George called me. "Felicia," he said, "I need to apologize." I hadn't spoken to him since May. "I should have said something at Thanksgiving," he said. "When your father put you at the kitchen table, I should have stood up for you." His voice cracked. "I was a coward. You deserved better from all of us." I didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry," he said again. We talked for 45 minutes. About family, about patterns, about how my father had learned to be cruel from my grandfather. Generational trauma, passed down like a genetic disease. "It's not an excuse," Uncle George said, "but it's an explanation." He invited Daniel and me to dinner, November 10th, 6:30 p.m. The three of us, me, Daniel, Uncle George, met at Upstream, a casual seafood place. Uncle George insisted on paying. The bill was $87. He told stories about my father as a kid, about how my grandfather had been brutal, dismissive, never satisfied. "Your dad is broken too," Uncle George said. "But that's not your job to fix." I asked about my father, whether he'd changed. Uncle George shook his head. "He hasn't, but maybe one day." I nodded. I wasn't holding my breath. Daniel and I started couples therapy in September, and I started individual therapy. Dr. Lisa Park, $150 per session, insurance covered 80%. We went 8 times between September and November. I learned about boundaries, about trauma, about how healing doesn't mean reconciliation. "Healing means peace," Dr. Park said. "You can have peace without your father's approval." One night, I wrote a letter to my father, 4 pages, everything I'd ever wanted to say. I didn't send it. I just needed to write it. Then I burned it in Daniel's kitchen sink, watched it turn to ash, and felt lighter. 8 months after the gala. December 14th, 10 a.m. The Cardenas Mental Health Crisis Center held its grand opening. 200 guests, hospital staff, community leaders, press. The mayor gave a speech. "This center represents the best of Charlotte," she said. "Compassion meeting innovation." I stood on a small platform, wearing my nursing scrubs, my title, Clinical Director. Daniel stood beside me, in a suit this time, still simple, still him. I looked at the plaque on the wall. Cardenas Mental Health Initiative, founded by Daniel Whitmore and Felicia Cardenas. My father's name was on it, because it was the Cardenas Initiative. But this was my legacy, not his. December 14th through December 21st. 127 patients in the first week, 40 beds, full capacity by day 3, 24-hour crisis intervention, immediate psychiatric care, no insurance denials, no wait lists, 18 staff members, nurses, therapists, case managers, social workers. I worked 60 hours that week, not because I had to, because I wanted to. On day 4, a 45-year-old man came in. Psychotic break. Hearing voices. Terrified. We stabilized him in 3 days. When he was discharged, he shook my hand. "Thank you," he said. "You saved my life." I smiled. "That's what we're here for." I sent him an invitation. Through Uncle George, November 28th. Formal. Printed. "You are invited to the grand opening of the Cardenas Mental Health Crisis Center. No RSVP, no phone call." On December 14th, I scanned the crowd. 200 people. My father wasn't there. Uncle George found me after the ceremony. "I'm sorry," he said. "I tried." I nodded. I know. Surprisingly, I was okay. I didn't need him there. After the ceremony, I stood outside the building. The plaque was mounted near the entrance. Stainless steel, 4 feet by 6 feet. Cardenas Mental Health Initiative, established 2023, founded by Daniel Whitmore and Felicia Cardenas. To honor those who heal. I stared at it for a long time. My father's name was there. Cardenas. The family name. But this wasn't his. Daniel came up behind me, put his arm around my shoulders. You did it, he said. I shook my head. We did it. A photographer from the Charlotte Observer took our picture. The photo ran the next day. 2 people standing in front of a crisis center, smiling, building something that mattered. The caption read, Local nurse and tech CEO opened $10.5 million mental health facility. My father's name wasn't mentioned, and I was fine with that. Because this was my story now, not his.